All right, extra practice solving equations for a given variable. We are going to solve these 11 problems and give you some extra practice in solving for like x here or solving for y here. It says solve for y, so our goal here is to get y by itself. So your final answers are going to be y equals something. Now you might not get a number like y equals 2. It might be something like with an x inside of it, like 3x minus 7 or something crazy like that, or 3x minus 7 over 2 or something like that. But our goal here is to get whatever letter you're solving for all by itself. So without further ado, let's move on. So here's the first one. Solve for y, 5x plus 3y equals 15. Let's get the y by itself, so we need to get rid of the 3, and we need to get rid of the 5x. So we're going to work the opposite of the order of operations, where we typically would multiply or divide first, and then add or subtract after. We're going to subtract or add first. So let's get rid of this 5x first, because we're adding it to this quantity, and do that to both sides. But we can't combine those on the right side, so we just write them next to each other. 15 minus 5x. And our last step is divide by 3. Now, in some problems, you can just do a big bar like this and go divide by 3. I prefer you do it separately, especially if two of them can reduce. So I'm going to go divide by 3 in all 3 spots here. And then I get y equals, so because this reduces, it's a little more simplified form. And then either 5/3 x or 5x over 3. Either one of those is fine. All right, number 2. Solve for x. So we'll say, I think it's the same problem. We're just solving for the other letter. Okay. So since we're solving for x, we need to get rid of the 3y. So subtract 3y from both sides. Or do the flip and switch if you prefer that method, where you just move it across to this side and it switches signs when it hits the equal sign. So 5x equals 15 minus 3y. And then divide everything by 5. And again, I'm going to do it separately because 5 goes into one of those two numbers. So x is 3 minus 3/5 y, or 3y over 5. Either I'll write it differently this time just so you can see the two different forms. All right, moving on. W. Solve for w. Let's get rid of the 2l. And obviously at any point here, if you're reviewing for a test or something, you want to pause it and try to do it on your own, and then check your answer with mine. So minus 2l here. So 2w is p minus 2l. And by the way, for most of these videos, I'm just copying these from your extra practice problems. I don't know where I was, but I was just interrupted by an announcement. So my thought process is for all these problems were from online on the CPM website. See, these problems right here are just from their extra practice problems. And then these two, number 10 and 11, I think are from your textbook. Where am I? All right, back to this problem. We're going to divide by, at this point, we have p minus 2l. So I'm going to divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. And especially because I have that 2 that I can reduce there. So w equals p over 2, or if you prefer a half of p, minus the 2's cancel here, like it's 1l, so just minus l. All right, number 4. And again, pause it if you want to try it on your own. But we're solving for m. So I suggest not divide by 3 right away, but get rid of the 1 first. And then I have 3m on the right side this time, 4n plus 1. Now I'm getting rid of the 1 because I'm solving for m. I want to get rid of the stuff that's around it. And then last step, divide by 3. Now 3 does not go into 4 or 1, so in this case, I don't mind if you just do that. You can just leave one big fraction. But if you prefer to write it separately, that's fine also. Either one of these two answers is fine. Number 5, solve for a. Let's get rid of the b. So I just went minus b to both sides, and that cancels. And then divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2, or just one big divide by 2 because nothing can reduce. So c minus b all over 2. And again, if you put c over 2 minus b over 2, that's totally fine. Same thing. Fraction bar will be nice. Number 6, solve for a. There's my a. I'm going to get rid of the b. Now when I get rid of the b, I'm actually subtracting b because the b itself, there's no subtraction sign in front of it. The negative goes on the 2, not on the b. So I have to go minus b to both sides, like that, and then divide by the negative 2 at the end. Now you typically won't see a negative on the bottom of a fraction. Like I guess I wouldn't mark it wrong or anything, but you usually take this, in the book I will always do this. They'll take that negative and put it on top. And when you put the negative on top, it changes the signs of both of these things. So probably the best form of answer is, because this is minus b, it changes it to a regular b, like a positive b, but b could be negative, and then a negative c, or like minus c here, all over a positive 2. That's a little confusing, I'm guessing. Again, this is probably fine for what level we're at now, but I want you to understand how that would work to move the negative to the top. So just kind of visualize, or maybe I'll just write it down there. If I put this negative right on top and get rid of it down here, then I'm distributing this negative sign through. So it looks like negative c plus b, because it's minus minus. And then I just rewrote it so I have the regular number in front. So either this over 2 or the one I have circled over here for equal to a. All right, number 7, the one that I screwed up on last time. So this is my second run through this video. So I have 6 minus 2q. I need to distribute here. Plus, because negative times negative is positive, 6p, and then equals 4p. Okay. Now, if this is confusing with the signs, go plus negative here and plus negative here. Not a bad idea. Do not combine the 6 and the negative 2 here. Don't make that a 4, because you have to multiply before you add or subtract. So that's very important. And then here, just going to combine my p's. So I'm going to subtract, what am I solving? Oh, I'm solving for p. So I'm going to put p all by itself somewhere. So I'm going to subtract 6p's. 6 minus 2q equals negative 2p. Almost done. We're going to divide by the negative 2 now, because I'm solving for p. So I want to get it by itself. And I'm going to divide it each spot, negative 2 here, because they each divide by negative 2. So I'm getting there. This is negative 3. The 2 negatives here become plus, and those cancel, so it's just plus q. Or if you want to write it a little more efficient, p equals q minus 3. Either way, it's the same thing. I just kind of switch this around. I'll keep the negative on the 3. Number 8, solve for x. So let's get rid of the 1. Minus 1. Well, the fourth of x equals y minus 1. And change colors here. Now this 1/4, 2 different ways to think of this. When you have fractions, you can typically get rid of them by multiplying by the reciprocal, like that, to both sides. Or, and that's either, it looks the same way either way, but, or just think the 4 is on the bottom, kind of like if it was like x over 4. If the 4 is on the bottom and you want to get rid of it, you just multiply by 4 and that cancels. So I would probably just show this times 4 here. Now be careful on the left side. When you multiply by 4, the whole left side is multiplied by 4. So it's really 4y minus 4 when you distribute that through. So I'll go ahead and write that. And the 4's cancel, so it's just x times 1 on the right side. So there's x. And that's it. X is solved for. A few more to go. Number 9, solve for r. Distribute, you need to get rid of the parentheses first. So 4r minus 12s equals r minus 5s. And then just put the arrows together. So I'm just going to flip and switch and subtract r and make that a 3r on the left side. At the same time, to save a step, I'm going to go plus 12s to both sides, or flip and switch the 12s. So that's, I'll write that, plus 12s, plus 12s. And here's minus r and minus r, if you prefer that. Those are gone. So on the left side, I have 3r. On the right side, I have negative 7s. Hope I'm not screwing up again. And then I'm solving for r, so divide by the 3. And that's going to be my answer right here. So r equals negative 7s over 3. Or if you prefer the fraction separate, r equals negative 7/3, and then s in the middle. I actually prefer this one, I think. I'm not sure. Solve for C. So we get C by itself. So let's get rid of the M. So this is back on the bookwork. There's a problem like this in class. So let's solve for C. So get rid of the M. What you get rid of the M is I divide because there's a multiplication right here. So divide both sides by that M. So C squared equals E over M. Now at this point I need to take a little side trip here and explain, and you should know this, but just to remind you, I guess, if I have something like C squared equals 16, and you're trying to figure out what could C be, I think you understand C could be a 4 or a negative 4. Because if I plug it in there, there's two answers. Negative 4 squared is 16. 4 squared is 16. So when you're doing this algebraically, you actually take the square root of each side, like this. Take the square root, take the square root, and the square root and the square kind of cancel each other out. Well, the problem is you only have one answer over here. So when you do this algebraically, you have to put plus minus in front of that. Okay? So again, like for another example, if I had like x squared equals 49, I'd take square root, but plus minus on the other side. And I get x equals plus or minus 7. That's how you write that, plus or minus, which is the same as 7 or negative 7. It's the same thing. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind when we solve this problem. Because at this point, we have to take the square root of each side. And the side we're not solving for, the other side of this gets the plus minus. So there's my answer. Okay, and make sure the square root covers the whole top and the bottom, not just the top piece. So C equals plus or minus, so the positive and the opposite of E over M. And the last one, I think, we're solving for W. So let's distribute. You okay over there? 2V minus 6, 1 minus W minus 4. And we're going to get W by itself, so let's just get rid of everything around it. So let's get rid of the 4 and get rid of the 1. I'm just going to put them together to start with, so I only have to get rid of one number. So I have like the opposite of W minus 3 here. And then I'm going to add 3 to both sides. So on the right side I have the opposite of W equals 2V minus 3. Looks like I'm done, except there's a negative in front of the W sign. So we got it's in front of the W, so let's get rid of that thing. You're basically dividing by negative 1 to get rid of that. Or multiplying by negative 1, or flipping it around, however you want to look at it. So I'm going to divide this by negative 1 and divide this by negative 1. So I get W is the same as negative 2V plus 3. Oh my goodness, that was a long time. So good luck.